Hey YouTube family and GN subs, how are you doing? We have a good news update for July 2024, a lot of good stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about the amnesty for DACA, how it works, why you would want to do it. You have to depart the US to pick up your visa. Why would you risk that? How can you minimize the risk of going? We have some good stuff. Going to talk a little bit about prosecutorial discretion. What does that mean? You probably haven't heard that before. We're going to jump into it, tell you all about it, and some other good news post in the description box, and I'll provide you with some information on the new deferred action for employment violations in the workforce. Again, this is all good stuff, folks. You probably haven't heard a lot of this before. For those of you who are new to the channel, what I do is I bring you good news. My name is Humberto R. Gray, and you can get me at hrg@graylaw.com. All right, we got a lot to get to today, so let's jump right in. DACA individuals are asking about what is this waiver to get a work permit? How is this done? What's going on here? So I've dug a little bit into it so I can explain to you how this might work, all right? So generally, when you depart the U.S., you have a ground of inadmissibility for being unlawful in the U.S. for a year or more, and there's generally a 10-year bar. So how do you get around that bar? You get around that bar by filing what's called a 212D3 waiver. I've done a video on this. Check it out. It's good stuff. In that video, you can get all the details on what's required, etc. But generally, it waives the grounds of inadmissibility. It's called a Matter of Ranka waiver. Looks at the harm to society if you're allowed to come to the U.S. It looks at your visa violation, which is basically entering the U.S. illegally and staying illegal for more than a year. And the reason for coming to the U.S. is to continue your DACA. So I think it's a strong waiver, but just so you know, it is discretionary, and you need to depart the U.S. to get this waiver, right? You need two things. You need a non-immigrant visa that's granted. Let's say it's an H-1B or an O-1. And then number two, you need to depart to pick up the visa, and you need to submit the waiver. And again, discretionary, they say yes or no. Are you, and why would you risk departing the U.S. to get this non-immigrant visa waiver? Well, there is a big reason. Remember, DACA is under litigation. We don't know if it's going to continue. I think now with this new temporary fix, it may be more likely than not that DACA is going to be going away. So you have a chance right now to get a non-immigrant status? Absolutely. Take advantage of this new amnesty for DACA, folks, because your underlying DACA may not be around for a long time, and this is your chance to get into legal status. You can apply for an employment-based visa and change your status here in the U.S. and get the green card. How do you minimize your chances of not getting stuck at the U.S. consulate abroad? Pretty simple stuff, folks. What you do is you get an advance parole before you leave the U.S. You get the advance parole so that if the consul for some reason says no, you come back in on your advance parole. That's how you get around it and minimize the risk. Absolutely take advantage of it. All right, another bit of good news. Deferred action for employment workforce violations. What is this, right? I talked about this before. There's a previous video. You might want to check it out. So if you are a migrant and there's been a violation of your rights in employment and there's an investigation, you have the right to get what's called deferred action. So if you've been discriminated against, if there are certain violations of the code, of the employment code in your state that you work in, and there's an investigation regarding that violation, you're able to get what's called deferred action. You get a work permit for 2 years. You cannot be removed from the United States. That is good stuff, folks. You might want to take a look into it if you've been discriminated against at work, okay? I put a link in the description box below. Gives you a little information on this process, how DHS is actually issuing the process. You need a statement of intent, it's called, from the employer. It's kind of like the supplemental B and the U visa context. And you make that application. Hopefully you can get that deferred action, all right? All right, let's talk a little bit about prosecutorial discretion. What is this? So this is if you are under removal proceedings, you can ask the government attorney to close the removal case. It's kind of simplified terms, right? But if you have a case that's under the jurisdiction of the courts and you have a way to adjust yourself with USCIS, you need to get rid of the court case first in order to adjust with USCIS. How do you do that? You do that by asking for prosecutorial discretion. You have a pathway to get the green card with USCIS, and this court matter is the only thing that's stopping you. You can ask the government attorney in its discretion to either reopen the removal case and terminate proceedings, or you can ask them to join in to reopen a removal matter and to terminate proceedings. Or if your case is administratively closed, that means it's sleeping in the court. The court still has jurisdiction over your case. So you can ask the government attorney to reopen and terminate the administratively closed case. So I put a link in the description box here of where you can contact the government attorneys. It doesn't have to be a lawyer that does it. You can simply do it yourself. Tell them what you want to do, how you want to do it. Here's all the jurisdictions and who you might contact. Or better yet, hey, get a good immigration attorney that practices in court with regard to removals and have them help you out with the prosecutorial discretion and get your green card, all right? Finally, last bit of good news for Haitians. The TPS was extended just recently. So TPS for Haitians extended from August of 2024 to February of 2026, 18 months. That's good news for what's happening in Haiti. My heart goes out to the Haitians, and this is a bit of good news for them. Make sure you go to the USCIS website for TPS. It's very good. USCIS.gov, type in TPS. It'll tell you you need to re-register most of the time. You have a certain period to re-register. Don't miss out on the re-registration, and then file for the extension of your TPS and say legal in the U.S. with work authorization. All right, YouTube family and GN subs, thanks so much for watching GrayLaw TV. Go to my content. Good stuff, folks. Frequently asked questions, as well as tons of videos that are actually put together so it's easy to navigate content. All right, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.